Hi my friends. Let's begin episode 4. As the legend goes, the foreign Prince Zahhak conquered Jamshid and claimed Jamshid's throne. He ruled as an evil tyrant for years and killed many innocent young people to satisfy the serpents. The Serpent King grew infamous throughout the land for his treachery and oppression of the known world. Among Zahhak's slaves were two of Jamshid's daughters, Arnavaz and Shahnameh. They were forced to be Zahhak's sweethearts. Each day, Zahhak's agents seized two men and executed them so that their brains could feed Zahhak's serpents. Two men, called Armael and Garmael, sought to rescue people from being killed by the serpents by learning cookery and becoming Zahhak's royal chefs. Each day, Armael and Garmael saved one of the two men by sending him off to the mountains and faraway plains, and substituting the man's brain with that of a sheep. One night, Zahhak dreamed of three warriors attacking him. The youngest warrior knocked Zahhak down with his mace, tied him up, and dragged him off toward Mount Damavand as a large crowd followed. Zahhak woke and shouted so loudly that the pillars of the palace started shaking. Zahhak summoned wise men and scholars to interpret his dream. His hesitant counselors remained silent until the most fearless of the men reported that the dream was a vision of the end of Zahhak's reign at the hands of Feridun, the young man with the mace. Zahhak was thrilled to learn the identity of his enemy, and ordered his agents to search the entire country for Feridun and capture him. Feridun's father was called Abtin and his mother was called Faranak. The agents learned that Feridun was a boy being nourished on the milk of the cow Barmay and his father was killed by Zahhak's agents to be the food of serpents. The spies traced the cow to the highland meadows, but Feridun and his mother had already fled. The agents killed the cow, but were forced to return to Zahhak with their mission unfulfilled. Zahhak lived the next few years in fear and anxiety of Feridun, and thus wrote a document testifying to the virtue and righteousness of his kingdom that would be certified by the kingdom's elders and social elite, in the hope that his enemy would be convinced against exacting vengeance. Much of the summoned assembly indulged the testimony out of fear for their lives. However, a blacksmith named Kaveh spoke out in anger for his children having been murdered to feed Zahhak's serpents, and for his final remaining son being sentenced to the same fate. Zahhak ordered for Kaveh's son to be released in a bid to coerce Kaveh into certifying the document, but Kaveh tore up the document, left the court, and created a flag out of his blacksmith's apron as a standard of rebellion. Kaveh proclaimed himself in support of Feridun as ruler, and rallied a crowd to follow him to the Alborz mountains, where Feridun was living as a young man. Feridun agreed to lead the people against Zahhak and had a mace made for him. On the way to Zahhak's palace, they decided to rest for a while. While Feridun was sleeping, his brothers were tempted to kill him out of jealousy and be leaders themselves, but Angel Sarush arrived and informed Feridun of the plot. The brothers were not successful. But Feridun decided to forgive them and not take revenge. They rode for days and crossed River Arvand. Feridun and his men went forth to fight against Zahhak, who had already left his capital, which fell to Feridun with small resistance. Feridun freed all of Zahhak's prisoners, including Arnavaz and Shahnameh. Zahhak's treasurer escaped to Zahhak and reported to him what had happened. Zahhak initially dismissed the matter, but he was incensed to learn that Feridun had seated Jamshid's daughters on thrones beside him like his queens, and immediately hastened back to his city to attack Feridun. Zahhak found his capital held strongly against him, and his army were in peril from the defense of the city. Seeing that he could not reduce the city, he sneaked into his own palace as a spy and attempted to assassinate Arnavaz and Shahnameh. Feridun struck Zahhak down with his mace, but did not kill him. On the advice of an angel, Sarush, he bound Zahhak and imprisoned him in a cave underneath Mount Damavand. Feridun bound Zahhak with a lion's pelt tied to great nails fixed into the walls of the cavern, where Zahhak would remain until the end of the world. Thank you for watching. In the next episode, we will talk about Feridun and his leadership. See you soon.